Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I'm going to talk about another example of rates of change, and this time this is a problem that is found in economics. Suppose that Cx is the function which represents the total cost that a company incurs in producing X units of a certain commodity, and that can often represented as a polynomial function. Therefore, if you have delta C over delta X, it represents the average rate of change of the cost. So delta C here is change of the cost. With respect to delta X here is the number of units produced. Now, if you add up another term, which is limit delta X approaches 0 to the existing delta C over delta X. So if you add this term here, limit delta X approaches 0, now this whole expression that you have here is known as the derivative, and that can be mathematically represented as dc dx. So when you talk about the derivative, you talk about the instantaneous rate of change of cost with respect to the number of units produced. And in economic terms, this is known as the marginal cost. Okay, now I'm going to point out another important fact here is that it is impossible to let delta X approaches 0. Remember that delta X here is the change of X. Okay, now X can only take integer values. Okay, can only take integer values. Why? Because X here is the units of something that you produce. For example, 10 units of bicycle or 500 pair of jeans. So that kind of thing can only take integer values. So therefore, the lowest delta X that it can be is delta X equals to 1, because delta X here represents the change of X, and you want it to be a very small change, a small increment. So the smallest interval of X will be delta X equals to 1. Therefore, marginal cost can also be interpreted as the cost of producing one more unit of a commodity. Okay, so that's the interpretation of marginal cost, which is the cost of producing one more unit of a commodity. Now let's look at the example. Suppose that a company has estimated that the cost in Ringgit Malaysia of producing X items is given by this polynomial function of degree 2. Now find the marginal cost function. In order to answer question A, what you need to do is you just need to differentiate this function with respect to X. So marginal cost function is just C prime X, okay, and that is equal to, I'm going to differentiate the function here. So the function here is 10,000 plus 5x plus 0.01 x squared. Now if you differentiate the constant, you will get 0. Differentiate 5x, you will get 5. Differentiate this term here, you will get a constant will be put aside. X squared will become 2x, and that can be simplified as 5 plus 0.02 x. Okay, now let's look at the next question. Okay, what is the marginal cost? What is the marginal cost at the production level of 500 items? So now question B, it can be mathematically translated as C prime 500, and what's the value? Okay, what is the marginal cost at the production level of 500 items? So I'm going to substitute 500 into the answer that I've got in question A. So therefore, marginal cost at the production level of 500 is just 5 plus 0.02 times 500. Okay, and this is equal to 5 plus 0.02 times 500. This is equal to 15. So the unit is RM per item. So this is 15 ringgit per item basically. Okay. Next. Find the difference of C501 and C500. So what I need to do is I need to substitute 501 into this function and then 500 into this function and get the difference of the answers. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So for question C, what is C501? So C501 is just 10,000 plus 5 times 501 plus 0.01 times 501 squared, and this is just 10,000 plus 5 times 501 plus 0.01 times 501 squared, and this is just 15 and then 015.01. Okay, so next, what is the value of C500? So C500 will be 10,000 plus 5 times 500 plus 0.01 500 squared, and if you punch in the calculator, that will be hang on, 01 times 500 squared, so that will be just 15,000. Okay, so now what is the difference of these values? So therefore C501 minus C500, okay, is equal to 15.01. Now what is the meaning of this? Okay, now before I explain the meaning of this, let us look at the next question, which is question D. What can be concluded from the answers in B and C? So you can see that the answers in B and C here, they are very close to each other. One is 15 and this one is 15.01. So maybe I can say that C prime 500 is approximately give you the same answer to C501 minus C500. Now that brings me to the thing that I would like to explain to you. So if you look at this process that we did here, what is the meaning of C501? So the meaning here is basically the cost of producing 501 items. Okay, so the cost of producing 501 items is 15,000 plus. Okay, now what is the cost of producing 500 items? Total cost of producing 500 items is 15,000. So if I take the difference, the cost of producing 501 minus the cost of producing 500 item, and if I get the answer is 15.01, this basically means the added cost the cost that is increased when you want to produce another one item, an extra item. Okay, so 501 here that you see over here, when you look at this process, this is the process of finding the difference between this one is the cost of producing 501 item. This is the cost of producing 500 items. So if I subtract, or if I find the difference between these two, I will get the cost of producing an extra item, or the item an extra item, or item number 501. Okay, so 15.01 here is the cost of producing an extra item from 500 items, or we can say that this is the cost of producing an item number 501. Okay, and if you see that this cost here is approximately similar to the marginal cost at the production level of 500 items given here. So now if you go back to the definition that you have seen in the previous page, it says that marginal cost can be interpreted as the cost of producing one more unit of a commodity. So that is why for this one here, the answer will be similar to the marginal cost, because based on that interpretation, marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit of commodity, and this is actually the same thing as having cost of 501 item minus the cost of 500 items, which gives you the cost of producing another one unit of commodity. All right. Thank you very, very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video with more examples related to rates of change.